share screening. Okay. Yeah. This is one. So we were doing this 24. This will take another some more time, I think. Okay, we were discussing about global warming. So under that, by Shailaja, only you are seeing. Where are the other students? I'm not able to see them. Are they there in the meeting?
Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You're all there? Okay. So we were doing about global warming. So I just will recap once again what is global warming. We talked about that. Global warming is a result of the wrong practices which are adopted by human beings, or the wrong practices, and also industrialization, and also various other factors which is leading to a lot of climate change as such. Like I discussed about chlorofluorocarbons, which are released by our ACs, or you talk about the vehicles, or you talk about any other things. When we talk about, these are all the results by which the global warming is occurring as such. This is one example again. Second one is deforestation. That means the green cover totally is being uh, destroyed by the people as such. And yes, ma, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So the global warming is one aspect I talked about. Then we also talked about chlorofluorocarbons, I said. Then there is also something called as volcanics. That means man-made things are always there. That is one is industrialization, I said. Second one I said is mainly the deforestation. And the third practice we talked about is the natural causes. What can be the natural causes for global warming is, one is we talk about is, one second. So these are all the things we have already completed. Okay, this is what are the various things we have. And then finally, so now it has come. I'm sorry, children. My So last time I think I did terrestrial radiation, heat budget, everything clear, ma? So this is global warming. So it is a gradual increase in the Earth's temperature, generally due to the greenhouse effect caused by increased levels of carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, and other pollutants. And it is a phenomenon of gradual increase in the temperature near the Earth's surface. This is all we have discussed. So what are the causes? One is deforestation, that is where we are trying to cut down the trees. Okay, second one is use of vehicles. Even for short distances, we are using, which is resulting in gaseous emissions. Then we have chlorofluorocarbons, and also it has led to the ozone layer depletion. This is the most important reason also why we are receiving so much of temperature, making way for the ultraviolet rays, increasing the temperature of the Earth. And next is, of course, I told you industrial development. The temperature of the Earth, that means with industrialization, maybe we started in 18th century, if you talk about, the temperature of the earth is increasing rapidly, and the harmful emissions from the factories add to the increasing temperature of the earth. Okay. In 2013, the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change reported that the increase in the global temperature, this you can note down, children. What is the increase in the global temperature between 1880 and 2012? That means if you take this particular year, which started, that means 1880, Industrial Revolution or industrialization started approximately. And in 2012, if you take, there has been an increase of 0.9 degrees Celsius, which is considered to be quite a large amount of temperature. The increase is 1.1 degrees Celsius when compared to the pre-industrial mean temperature. That means this is after industrialization. When you compare like that, it has increased by 1.1 degrees. Then agriculture. How is agriculture contributing to global warming? That means various farming activities produce carbon dioxide and methane gas. These add the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and increase the temperature of the earth. For your general knowledge, it is paddy cultivation. Paddy cultivation also is contributing to the pollution as such. Then you have overpopulation. Increase in population means more people breathing. This leads to an increase in the level of carbon dioxide because we exhale carbon dioxide, the primary gas causing global warming in the atmosphere. Next, you have natural causes. That means these are all man-made causes. Once again, we'll go back. That means what are the causes for global warming is, one is we call it as a deforestation. These are all called as man-made causes. Deforestation, use of vehicles, chlorofluorocarbons, that is using of more of ACs, vehicles, all these are the important things. Then you have industrial development. That means the harmful emissions from the factories. It can be cement factories, it can be chemical factories, it can be any factory for that matter. Whatever emissions they are letting out is also resulting. Next is agriculture, wrong practices. Then you have overpopulation. These are all man-made causes. Then what are the natural causes? Natural causes are volcanoes. Volcanoes are one of the largest contributions of global warming. That is the ash and the smoke. You must have seen volcanic eruptions, everyone. Yes, children? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you must have seen the eruption of a volcano. It will give out so much of what do you call it as they
Magma.
emit a lot of smoke and ash, which is also one of the reasons eruptions go out into the atmosphere and will affect the climatic conditions. Water vapor is also a kind of greenhouse gas. That means due to the increase in the Earth's temperature, more water gets evaporated. You all know about that condensation process. That means water is evaporated, more amount of water is evaporated from the water bodies, and it will stay in the atmosphere, adding to the global warming also. That means either it is too much of cold or too much of heat also. Melting permafrost. That means permafrost is there where glaciers are there. You must be knowing what is a glacier. What is the definition of a glacier?
Ma'am, it is the ice from which we'll get the water or the rivers.
Which will be called as a moving ice. A moving ice is called as a glacier. Okay. Now, permafrost is there where glaciers are present. It is a frozen soil that has environmental gases trapped in it for several years. It's a frozen soil and all the gases are in that. So when it melts, what happens is that it releases the gases back into the atmosphere, increasing the Earth's temperature. That is the reason why the scientists are warning that if all the ice will melt, then the temperatures also will increase more because they will contain more gases embedded in them. Once they are melting, that means they are emitting more and more gases also, which will increase your global warming temperature. Forest blazes. Now we are hearing so much in Australia and so many countries, we have these forest fires. Forest blazes or forest fires emits a large amount of carbon dioxide, once again, which is also carbon containing smoke. These gases are released in the atmosphere and they in turn will increase the Earth's temperature, resulting in global warming. So what are the effects? So these are all the causes we have understood. Now, what are the effects? First one is rise in temperature. Global warming has led to an incredible increase in the Earth's surface. Since 1880, the Earth's temperature has increased by -1 degrees. Okay, this has resulted in increase in the melting of glaciers, which have led to the increase in the sea level. As we said that if temperature increases, glaciers will melt. If glaciers will melt, the sea level will increase. That means this could have a devastating effect on the coastal regions. That means all the coastal regions. Now, I don't know, in last, I think in one of the cyclones or floods, they are saying that the sea has come into nearer to the land area. That means this is the major problem we are going to face if there is a rise in the sea level also. And they are saying that there are certain regions which may be submerged under the water if the sea level increases. Like, for example, if you take Maldives is one country which will be facing this problem, which may be completely submerged under the water, and all the coastal areas near Andhra and many other places, if you take, they may be submerged under the water if the sea level keeps on increasing. This is the most important danger that we are going to face. Next is, of course, we are seeing the climate change. Already we are saying global warming has led to climatic changes. There are droughts at some places. Now, presently, you see what are the floods that are occurring in India. Tirupati, you can see, for example, how it is flooding totally. And also we can see Andhra also, how it is flooding. This is nothing but the result of global warming. Either you have more water or you don't have any water. So excess of water is coming nowadays. This climatic imbalance is nothing but it is a result of the global warming. That means even in places like America and many other countries, they are also witnessing temperatures above 45 degrees increase, which they have never seen. That means these are all nothing but it is about the global warming. Then if this global warming continues, the next problem we face is spread of diseases. Global warming leads to change in the patterns of heat and humidity. Naturally, I said that some places will be experiencing lots of heat. Sometimes you have lots of humidity also. This will lead to the movement of the mosquitoes that will carry and spread the diseases. That is the reason why today we find that there may be a number of viruses, there may be a number of diseases which will be facing in future also. Then you have high mortality rates. You know what is mortality? Can anyone give me the definition of mortality?
Ma'am, it is the number of deaths by total population.
Very good, very good. Mortality is death rates. Okay. So due to increase in floods, tsunami, and many other natural calamities, the average death toll usually increases. You can see now the floods are occurring. Number of people dying are also increasing. Also, they can also bring about the spread of diseases that can hamper the human life. We have seen how the coronavirus has affected from 1.5 years. We are almost suffering like this. So this is also one of the examples we can give for global warming. Next is loss of natural habitat. That means in the climate, as a global shift in the climate leads to the loss of habitats of several plants and animals. We are seeing that the plants and animals, that means either we are destroying the forests, and as a result of which the plants and the animals are losing their habitat. What is a habitat? Is that every plant and animal can live in certain climatic conditions. It can be a forest, it can be any other place where they can live, which you call it as natural habitat. That means we are leading to the loss of habitats. In this case, the animals need to migrate from their natural habitat, and they may, and many of them even become extinct also. That means either they have to move out from the forest or either they become extinct. That means you cannot see them at all. This is yet another major impact of global warming on the biodiversity. That means the biodiversity is going to face a lot of problems. This is as far as global warming is concerned. Am I clear with global warming, everyone? The causes, effects? Yes, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, coming to humidity and condensation. Now, these words you must have learned way back in your 7th class, maybe in your science lessons also you must have learned. So the air contains water vapor. It varies from 0 to 4% by volume of the atmosphere and plays an important role in the weather phenomenon. So you know, important factor for the weather phenomenon also. Water is present in the atmosphere in 3 forms. You all know this in your earlier classes, you must have learned. It is in the form of gaseous, liquid, and the solid state. So gaseous state, liquid state, and solid state. The moisture in the atmosphere is derived from the water body. So how does the moisture come into the atmosphere? This also you must be knowing about the water cycle. You know, you have the idea of water cycle, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Water cycle is that where when the temperature is very high, it absorbs the water from.
Ma'am, you are stuck, ma'am.
Am I stuck?
Yes,
Okay. Can you hear now?
yes, ma'am. Please repeat
Yeah.
again, ma'am, please.
Yeah. So I'll repeat once again. So in water cycle, we say that when the temperature increases, the heat will be absorbing the entire water from the water bodies, takes it to the atmosphere, and again returns back to the atmosphere in the form of various precipitation. What are the various forms of precipitation? It can be rain, it can be hail, it can be dew, it can be frost, it can be snow. You all know these various forms of precipitation. Clear? So water is present in the atmosphere, then the moisture is derived from the water bodies through evaporation and from plants through transpiration. This all you will be doing in your biology, if I'm not mistaken. Thus, there is a continuous exchange of water between the atmosphere, the oceans, and the continents through the process of evaporation, transpiration, condensation, and precipitation. This is the order you will be remembering. Okay, so the moisture is derived from the water bodies, which you call it as evaporation. Transpiration is that through from the plants also it will be done. Then the whatever water is absorbed, it will be there in the clouds. Then when it reaches a point, which you call it as a saturation point, you must have learned about saturation point. Yes? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What is saturation, I said?
Where the solid or liquid or anything evaporates.
That means it reaches a point where it cannot hold. That means, for example, the whatever water is absorbed will be in the clouds. And when they're unable to hold that particular water, it will condense into small droplets and come down to the Earth's surface in the form of precipitation. What is precipitation? It can be rain, it can be hail, it can be sheet also. There are various forms of precipitation. This is the common thing that occurs on a daily basis as such. So the air containing moisture to its full capacity at a given temperature is said to be saturated. That's what I'm telling that. The cloud, when it becomes full of water, which you call it as the full capacity at a given temperature, then it is called as saturated. That's why we say that saturation point is at where it cannot hold anymore. That is what you call it as saturated. It means that the air at the given temperature is incapable of holding any additional amount of moisture at that stage, and the temperature at which the saturation occurs in a given sample of air is known as a dew point. This also you must have learned in your earlier classes. So you should know what is saturation, what is a dew point. I'll repeat once again. The temperature at which saturation occurs in a given sample of air, it is called as a dew point. That means the air reaches the dew point when it is completely having the water, and it will not be able to take or hold any amount of water vapor. That is called as dew point. Am I clear? The ability of the air to hold water vapor depends entirely on the temperature. The absolute humidity differs from place to place on the surface of the earth. So the absolute humidity, relative humidity will be changing depending upon the temperature, because it cannot have the same, as we have discussed that, because it all depends upon your latitude and your longitude, and also in which zones you are lying. Like for example, if you are lying in equatorial region or a tropical region or the polar regions, accordingly, the absolute humidity and the relative humidity goes on changing from one place to another place. Am I clear with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The percentage of moisture present in the atmosphere as compared to its full capacity at the given temperature is known as relative humidity. This is the definition you have to learn. You should know when in the MCQs. What is it? The percentage of moisture present in the atmosphere as compared to its full capacity at a given temperature is known as the relative humidity. Am I clear with that? Yes?
Ma'am, your voice broke in the middle.
Okay. The percentage of moisture. Am I clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The percentage of moisture present in the atmosphere as compared to its full capacity. That means how much of moisture is present at a particular temperature is referred to as the relative humidity rather than the full capacity as such. With the change of air temperature, the capacity to retain moisture increases or decreases, and the relative humidity is also affected. It is greater over the oceans and lesser over the continent. So with the change of air temperature, either the capacity to retain the moisture will be either increasing or decreasing. So it all depends upon the temperature, and it also will be affecting the relative humidity also. Am I clear with that? So the relative humidity is greater over the oceans and least over the continents. This also we discussed, because when you are near the oceans, the capacity, the moisture will be very high. That is why they have humidity more. That means they try to perspire and all that. Whereas in the continents, it is more of drier. We all have learned this also in the earlier lessons. Clear, children? Yes? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Movement of air replaces the saturated layer with unsaturated layer. Hence, the greater the movement of air, the greater is the evaporation. So as the air moves, the evaporation also will be more as such. The transformation of water vapor into water is called as condensation. That also I told you that. That means when the water is absorbed from the water bodies, it is absorbed in the form of a vapor. in the form of a gas, but when it is converted into water, it is called as condensation, because once it reaches the saturation point at the dew point, the entire vapor will be transformed into water and comes down to the earth's surface in the form of droplets of rain. Okay. So condensation is caused by the loss of heat. When moist air is cooled, it may reach a level when its capacity to hold water vapor ceases as such. Clear? Condensation is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Next, condensation also takes place when the moist air comes in contact with some colder object, and it may also take place when the temperature is close to the dew point. Okay. How can condensation takes place? What are the two ways? Is that when the moist air comes in contact with some colder object. Colder object means it can be a hill, or you could talk about any other object. Then it may also take place when the temperature is close to the dew point. What is the dew point here we talk about is the temperature falls below a particular range. You call it as the dew point. Am I clear with that?
Yes, ma'am.
After condensation, the moisture of atmosphere or humidity gets converted into dew, fog, mist, frosts, and clouds. So the moisture, how does it happen is that the atmosphere or the humidity gets converted into dew. You all know what is dew. Yeah. Then we also talk about fog. Is that where you have that that visibility will not be there and everything will be foggish. You must be knowing that also. Mist, fraud, clouds. All these are considered to be the condensation of the the moisture in the atmosphere. The ideal conditions for formation of dew are clear sky, calm air, high relative humidity, and cold and long nights also. Frost forms on cold surfaces when condensation takes place below freezing point. That is, the dew point is at or below the freezing point. You must be seeing that on the grounds. You must be finding this frost somewhere. You'll be finding the droplets of. It will be looking like thin ice sheets. You must have seen that at least, children. Frost.
Yes, ma'am.
Like it will look like that that spongy and that thing like soapy water. You find that is called as frost. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We can see in the North India.
Yes, North India only. Mainly you can find fog, frost, snow. All these you can find only in Northern India, not in South India, because the temperatures will be having, they will have very less temperatures. Yeah. The only difference between mist and fog is that mist contains more moisture than the fog. In mist, each nuclei contains a thick layer of moisture. So that is a major difference. So what is mist and what is fog is that mist contains more moisture than the fog. Fog is like you have this cloudy thing where you cannot see the visibility. For example, at present in Delhi, you find thick fog. What is a fog is like a blanket, it will be there where you cannot have any visibility, you cannot see anything. That is what you call it as fog. Am I clear with that? Usually during the time of the winters, you find that early in the morning, you cannot see anything. The visibility will not be there. That is what you call it as fog. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, fogs are drier than mist and they're prevalent when warm currents of air come in contact with the cold current. So this is how the fogs will be contained. Fogs are mini clouds in which condensation takes place around nuclei provided by dust, smoke, and salt particles. That's what I told you. Why Delhi is having fog now is because of the crackers which they have burst and because of which there is no clarity in the vision at all. Am I clear with that part?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Next, we talk about what are clouds. Clouds and classification of the clouds. Cloud is a mass of minute water droplets or tiny crystals of ice formed by the condensation of the water vapor in free air at considerable elevations. This is the definition you give for cloud. Okay, it is a mass of minute water droplets or tiny crystals of ice formed by the condensation of the water vapor in free air at considerable elevations. That means usually you find near the hills and all that, you can find that the clouds are touching the ground or something like that. Okay. According to their height, expanse, density, and transparency or opaqueness, clouds are grouped into 4 types. So you should know the types of the clouds. This will come for your MCQ. First one is called as a cirrus. then you have the cumulus, then you have the stratus, and you have the nimbus. These are the 4 types of clouds you have. Now, these are the types of condensation: dew, fog, frost, fog and mist, and clouds. These are all called as the various types of condensation. I'll repeat once again: dew, fog, frost, fog and mist, and clouds. Okay, this is, I don't know how it has come in between. Now we'll see what are the different types of clouds. What are cirrus clouds? They are formed at high altitudes. That means 8,000 to 12,000 meters above the sea level. They are thin and detached clouds having a feathery appearance. They are always white in color. You will be seeing clouds in white, black, and also in what is the other color we can find? Silver color, or you call it as the ash colors. Yeah, different types of clouds. Did you ever observe clouds here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can
So
find
these,
saffron in, at the time of sunset also.
yes, yes. So cirrus clouds are usually, they are white in color. That is what you have to see. Next one is cumulus clouds. Like, they look like cotton wool. You must have seen cotton wool. And they are generally formed at a height of 4,000 to 7,000 meters. They exist in patches and can be seen scattered here and there. They have flat base. Okay. Stratus are layered clouds covering large portions of the sky. These clouds are generally formed either due to loss of heat or the mixing of air masses with different temperatures. So you should know the colors and the altitude. This is very important when we are talking about the MCQs and all. So cirrus clouds are found at 8,000 to 12,000 meters. Cumulus clouds are found at a height of 4,000 to 7,000 meters. Then they are white in color. Then these are looking like cotton wool as such. Stratus are layered clouds covering large portions of this. That means whatever clouds we see in the sky are mostly stratus clouds. They are not cumulus. Actually, they are called as cumulonimbus clouds. They are called as, what is cumulonimbus clouds? Is that suddenly they give rain. Sudden rain when it comes. That means bursting of the rain. Suddenly you find that there is a heavy downpour without any clouds or anything like that. They suddenly appear in the sky. They give you heavy rainfall. That is what you call it as cumulonimbus clouds, they are called as. So stratus are layered clouds covering large portions of the sky. They are generally formed either due to loss of heat or the mixing of air masses with different temperatures. Then you have the nimbus clouds. These are the ones I'm talking about. They are black or dark gray. That means whatever clouds we see usually which are dark in color, no, they are called as nimbus clouds. They form at middle levels or very near to the surface of the earth. So the clouds which we see and they appear near the earth, they are called as the nimbus clouds. Am I clear with that? Yes, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
So whatever clouds we see at present, that means the black clouds which we see, they are nothing but the nimbus clouds, which are very nearer to the Earth's surface. On the basis of origin, rainfall may be classified into 3 main types. They are called as the convectional rainfall, orographic or relief rainfall, and cyclonic rainfall. Remember these 3 types of rainfall. You have convectional, orographic, and cyclonic rainfall. Orographic is also called as relief rainfall. Convectional rainfall takes place when the air on being heated becomes light and rises up in convection currents. As it rises, it expands and loses heat, and consequently condensation takes place and cumulus clouds are formed. With thunder and lightning, heavy rainfall takes place, but this does not last long. Just now I told you, during the time of the summer season, we find this type of rainfall, which will come because of overheat. Suppose the temperature is very high on a particular day in a summer day, then suddenly in the afternoon or in the evening, these clouds are formed, which they give very heavy rainfall. They will last maybe for half an hour, 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour. They give very heavy downpour and they will leave. This is what you call it as convectional rainfall. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you have orographic rain. It occurs when the saturated air mass comes across a mountain. It is forced to ascend, and as it rises, it expands. And then the temperature falls and the moisture is condensed. The chief characteristic of this sort of rain is that the windward slopes receive greater rainfall. Now, in your earlier classes, you must have learnt about windward side and leeward side. Did you hear these words? Windward side.
No, ma'am.
Now, for example, if you say there is a hilly like area, for example, you take a mountainous area, for example. So usually these clouds will be traveling. When they are traveling, if they are obstructed by a mountain or a hill, then they are forced to come back. They descend and give heavy rainfall. That side is referred to as the windward side of the mountain. Okay. And as they are moving, if they are not obstructed by any of the hills or mountains or anything, then the clouds will pass away. So this particular area or the region does not receive any rainfall because they are not obstructed by any mountain or hill. That is called as the leeward side of the mountain. So you have two places. One place is that where it is obstructed, it comes down, gives rainfall. There is the other side where there is no obstruction, so it does not give any rainfall. That particular region or the side which does not get any rainfall is called as the leeward side of rainfall. So what is orographic rainfall? Is your monsoon rainfall which occurs from June to September in our country. Am I clear with that?
Yes, ma'am.
So any cloud carrying the water has to be obstructed. If
This
it is
meeting will
obstructed,
end, Shamla, or once, shall we join again?
do you want me to join or do you,
You can
you have
just
anything?
sum it up also, 1 minute.
Yeah. Just, okay. So these are the types of rainfall. Actually, it is my mistake only today, because of this. Okay. Whatever it is. So orographic rainfall, till here, is it okay, children?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going a bit slow because Shailaja, these topics are a bit tough. I don't want to rush up and give so much of information. I will share this particular thing with you. Next class, I will share because a lot more is there to explain. I will share this particular content with you all. Any doubts, children, with regard to this explanation part?
No, ma'am. Nothing as of now.
Clear? Is the topic clear? So
Yes, ma'am.
I'll stop sharing the screen. Okay. I'll come back there and then come back to the class.
We couldn't see the screen, Shamla.
Which one? The screen is
one.
not seen?
No.
You're only hearing to me then?
Yes, ma'am. We are
Something is,
hearing.
array.
The document you can share once they will go through and